Salam alaikum. Okay, now it's working. So, many think that the rule of law is currently in a decline because autocracies are penetrating our societies and somehow they are winning, and they do not believe that the power should be limited. And the truth is that there are a lot of groups and a lot of ideologies that do not believe on the rule of law. They believe on the rule of force. They believe on the rule of ideology. They believe on the rule of a family. And that's true. That is a constant conflict between the rule of law and the rule of force. And that's part of our history, and this conflict will continue going on. But it's my belief that only through the rule of law we can promote peace, we can promote freedom, and we can promote human dignity. And this idea or this view of the rule of law is really universal. I'm really happy to be here in Lahore, in a very different country where I come from. I'm from Spain. I'm from a totally different culture. But I think this is universal value. And a rule of law, in order to be so, needs to be anthropocentric. And what does anthropocentric mean? It means that it has to be based on human dignity. Because if we don't, if it is just a formal set of rules not based in human dignity, we are not really under the rule of law. We are under a different regime. During the opening, I was reading one of the quotes that it was at the panel that was mentioned by Asma Jahangir, the person we are celebrating here. And it said, democracy is not just about election, it is about the protection of human rights. And I totally agree with that, because maybe this could be controversial, but if I had to choose between electing the government and having human rights, I would prefer to live under human rights. I didn't have the chance to meet the person, the hero we are celebrating today, but it was mentioned, the justice during the opening was mentioned that he was some sort of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a justice of the Supreme Court. And I totally agree that if the Asma had been born in the United States, there would be films and there would be documentaries about her, just as Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I didn't meet Asma, but I have to say I met personally Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Justice of the Supreme Court. It was in Washington, at the American Bar Association. And I had the opportunity to have dinner with her, and more people, of course, at the very famous hotel for a wide different reasons, that is the Watergate Hotel. And during the conversation, he said exactly something very similar. We were talking about the rule of law, and he said, well, stop a second. He was very kind, but very, very brave at the same time. Stop a second about talking about rule of law. If it's not based on human dignity, we are not under the rule of law. And that really had a great impact on myself, and I preach about it all the time, and I think also Asma Jahangir will think something similar. Because this rule of law, anthropocentric and universal, is my belief, is one of the greatest achievements of humankind. Truly, I believe that. And we should have to come back to the Greek, to the Romans, but also here, to Lahore, a very famous city and with more than 2,000 years of history. And what does the rule of law needs? Because at least in my view, sometimes we can incur in the mistake of being very elite and only for academics. And some people were referring before, no? Common people may not really understand what are we talking about. And that's why we need heroes. And we need great storytellings. And here we have a woman that has a great storytelling, a great hero. And that's why we are here. I'm, on behalf of the World Jurists Association, came from Madrid yesterday, only to celebrate this hero and also to make awareness not only in your country, that I think looking at so many people that came here these days, does not need to make further awareness. But we should make a further awareness of her legacy throughout the world. And we are really looking forward to do that with you guys, and that her story is known worldwide. Thank you. Okay. Well, bearing in mind just that as I said before, in my view, rule of law is a universal value. It's not only a Western issue. It's not only something from the United States, from England, or from the European Union. I might totally understand that it's worldwide, and anywhere where there is a human being, rule of law, it should be defended and should be promoted. As Earl Warren, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, said during the first World Law Congress of the World Jurists Association in Athens in 1963, and I'm going to quote, "There is still hope that humanity will live in peace and freedom if, and only if, we all accept a world ruled by laws, not by force, ideology, a party, or an autocrat. That world is still achievable and requests our faith, work, and loyal commitment." This extraordinary man said these words in the first World Law Congress during the Cold War years, where two systems were not only confronting politically or internationally. Total annihilation of humankind was a possibility. As a matter of fact, it was the year of the Cuban Missile Crisis, where humans were really, really close to be totally annihilated from the earth. So I think this quote is extremely important this is an important message I wanted to share with you about the rule of law. And focusing now on the judiciary, one of the themes we are discussing here, in my view, judges are the weakest power of any system, of any architectural system. Why? Because, and we have a lot of them here, a lot of times they are really alone, and they suffer a lot of pressure from political parties, from wealthy companies, and from a wide variety of groups, that what they really believe is underneath is that the power should not be limited. Who is a law to limit real power? And that's why sometimes they actually don't like independent judges. And it's my belief that any institutional architecture should really focus on that, on protecting the independence of judges. Not only here in Lahore, but also in Washington, in Brussels, in Madrid, in El Cairo, in Nairobi, anywhere. They need us. They need protection. And coming back also to the rule of law, and is basically, I understand that this is really the last tool that the weakest, the poorest people of any society have. The possibility to go to a judge and to ask that their rights can be respected. They can be implemented, irrespectively of who is infringing that right. And yes, our last World Law Congress of the World Jurists Association took place at the United Nations in New York. And I was walking around after very, very strong work, like the guys who are here focused on the organization. I want to thank you all for all your work. And after being at the United Nations with so many leaders, politicians from all over the world, I was walking around really exhausted for the Congress, and I came right next to the New York Supreme Court. And there was a inscription in this 150 years old building that said, "The true administration of justice is the firmest pillar of good government." And it really struck me, because you may have a good economy, you may have good infrastructure, you may have other things, but if you don't have really an independent judges, if you don't have a true justice administration, you will never have a good government, and without a good government, common life is extremely difficult and painful. So thank you very much, everybody. All the best.